What's up, guys? Welcome to my first YouTube video channel. We finally did it. This was my 2023 resolution. We are finally here today. For my first video, or rather series that I'm going to do, I am going to basically detail my journey as a chemical engineer fresh out of university to where I am here today, right? And the main reason of why I'm doing this is because a lot of the people that I come into contact with, be it in my personal life or in my workspaces, are people that are currently pursuing degrees, coming out of university, just having graduated, or very young in the workforce. So I just want to give you a perspective of the journey that I went through, being in a similar position as you. And hopefully what I'm hoping is that it will bring you inspiration and you could probably relate to some of the things that I went through. So to those of you who do not know me, my name is Colin Francis. I come from Malaysia and I pursued a degree in chemical engineering in the UK, and I graduated with a master's in chemical engineering from University of Birmingham. At that time, so I have to basically take us back 6 years. It was 2017, and at that time I already had spent a total of 5 years in the UK. So I had developed this kind of affinity towards the country, towards the people, mostly my classmates that I've spent countless of hours with, going out, eating, late nights, snacking, all-nighters at the library, just surviving our degree, right? So at that point, I had to almost deal with the reality that I will have to say goodbye to my life in the UK. I had a lot of mixed feelings, mainly because, as Malaysian, Asian kids pursuing your degree overseas, I'm sure a lot of you can relate to me when I say that a lot of our parents will say, oh, we are not sure of how things are in the country, political instability, you better look elsewhere for job opportunities. Now, my parents weren't that pushy. I think a part of them wanted me back home as well. But I think it was only natural at that point that I did want to pursue a working career in the UK. And there were a couple of roadblocks to it. It was not impossible, but I think the circumstances that I was in made it even more tricky. So firstly, being that during my time, they had removed the ability for international students like myself to get a working visa, right? Before my time and after my time, how convenient, right? So before my time and after my time, they have it. So it's literally a working visa that upon completion of your degree, you are able to get this 2-year visa that allows you to basically apply to a larger pool of companies, because companies don't need to sponsor your visa, and your probability of landing a job is greater, right? For during my time, I sound like one of those guys, during my time, you basically had a smaller pool of companies, because these had to be companies that could sponsor your visa. So typically bigger companies, and the competition was high, so I didn't get a job. And secondly, man, these exams that they had, that you had to pass to get an entry, were so weird and crazy that I never got through them, right? Never got through them, never even got to the interview stage. So yeah, and my graduation which was around July 2017, my parents came and they took me on this amazing Euro trip, and culminated in my graduation. I just had to succumb to the reality that my time in the UK had come to an end. So I said my goodbyes and I made that journey back home. So let me backtrack a bit. During my last months in the UK, they had this thing called the Graduan Fair. This fair was pulling all these Malaysian companies that came to the UK to basically scout for Malaysian talent in the graduates that were coming back to Malaysia. And I remember at that point, I was interviewed by this company called Sapura Kencana. And I thought that, man, I was acing this interview. Like, I gave myself an A+ for that. I was like, man, I'm gonna get this job. And they were an oil and gas company as well. Funny enough, that's the industry that I am in currently. and, you know, I didn't get the job. I was like, damn, I guess this is the working world. Like, welcome to the working world, Colin. So, having been rejected by Sapura at that point, I came back to Malaysia and I was applying for jobs. And I had an interview with this company, this paints company. And again, I thought the interview went well, and then I never heard of them again. So it was like rejection after rejection until there was one of family friends, someone that my dad knew, who was this head of a division of this agricultural company based in KL, that decided to give me an opportunity. So I went to this interview again, and I could just sense in that interview that I already had the job. It was just that they were doing some formality checks on me. I must have had to screw up so badly to not get that job, right? And I think one of the things that helped my cause as well was that in university, in my third year, I had worked on this soluble coffee manufacturing design project, which is still up to date today, hands down my magnum opus, right? That is one of my highlights of my entire chemical engineering degree. It was 70 pages long. I don't know how many thousands, tens of thousands of words, but that till today is my magnum opus. So they were reading that, and obviously I think they were impressed by it. So yeah, I'm on board, right? Much respect, much love to this man who gave me this opportunity, because as I mentioned, it was an agricultural company. They dealt with upstream, so they were dealing with palm and rubber, and their plantations were way off in Africa. I basically, coming from a chemical engineering background, had no business being in this office, but he just wanted to give me that opportunity. So huge thanks to this man for making it possible and for giving me that stepping stone. So here I am, day one, and I quickly realized that, look, this is way out of my depth. This was a very senior management office, right? All these people had done their groundwork. They have been down in the dirt, in the plantations, and now they have graduated to a point in their career where they're just sitting in the office. Whereas me, not having set foot on a palm and rubber plantation, right? Having to do research and having to present my R&D ideas to them. And, it was just not going to fly because I didn't have that perspective, that experience with me. So it became quickly apparent to me that, yeah, this was way out of my depth. It was nobody's fault that my roles and my tasks that I was doing in that office that I accomplished was designing a poster. I just had graduated with a chemical engineering degree in the UK, and here I was designing posters and flyers. So I definitely had that point that struck me, which was like, what am I doing with my life? And I had people in that office as well that was telling me, Colin, the minute you get an opportunity, please go, because here you're not going to grow. And that day came, which I feared, because even though I was not growing, I was sort of in a comfort zone, right? That the boss calls me to his office. So the man that gave me that opportunity calls me to his office and basically tells me that, look, we are not going to renew your contract, right? And this news hit me like a ton of bricks. It will go on to be such a blessing in disguise, right? But at that point, that sort of rejection was something that was very new to me, for me to process. And yeah, it really hit me. It really hit me, I'm not gonna lie. But from that moment, something sort of amazing happened after that, which I will get into in the next part, so part 2. So stick along. Thanks.